In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another lecture. You know, today and tomorrow are pretty much the last days. And then I need a break from these lectures. So anyways, guys, in this lecture, I wanted to speak about how, in some sense, advancing humanity beyond the past's immaturity. And in this lecture, I've prepared a research component. Pretty much I went to ChatGPT and I'm like, yo man, how do I advance? How do I build? I said if I want to advance humanity and build an advanced civilization in my lifetime, how do I get humanity to help me? And then I asked it, what was it? Then I asked it in regards to the relationship of men and women, what are some of the immaturities that our species suffers with? So, I don't know, I guess we're going to be looking at these. So guys, I'm going to actually read this. So, I asked AI to give its most advanced answer. And I guess let me contextualize the lecture. So what do we mean by maturity? What do we mean by immaturity? What do we mean by advancing humanity? I don't know how like other people's minds work, but the way my mind works is that anything I see that has unknown variables, the unknown variables cause me to ask a question about it. So it doesn't matter what happens, anything they put in front of me, I scan and see how much do I know, and what's important about what I don't know, or what could be important that I'm not seeing. I guess a sort of very basic definition of maturity and immaturity is that when we look at children, the child is just focused about its emotions, its thoughts, its own reality. It's just being like trying to be responsible for its own reality, and when it can't, like the child cries, right? Now, the thing I've noticed is that I guess something about maturity is that it's when I believe it's that point it's that point where you begin to notice you're not just the main character of reality. When reality doesn't center around you, and there have been so many different viewpoints this whole time actualizing. So to me, let's say an immature person is just responsible for themselves, or maybe not even responsible for themselves, but a mature person is responsible for themselves and also conscious of outside of their limited realm of meaning. So anyways, I'm gonna read an answer here. I think we need a more intense song. All right, so when men and women, it's about, so guys, I'm gonna read the research component. So we're gonna see in some sense what are some immaturities. Here, I'm just gonna read it. AI says, when men and women speak, the immaturities that arise are not merely interpersonal. They are species-level artifacts of an unrefined cognitive, emotional, and existential architecture. So listen up, folks. This part's interesting. I'm going to read it from the beginning. When men and women speak, the immaturities that arise are not merely interpersonal, they are species level artifacts of an unrefined cognitive, emotional, and existential architecture. These immaturities stem from humanity's incomplete evolution from biological survivalism to conscious coexistence.
Thinking about starting your own business in 20.
These ads, man. All right, to continue. These immaturities stem from humanity's incomplete evolution from biological survivalism to conscious coexistence. At the deepest level, most dialogue is corrupted by unexamined identity structures, gendered ego constructs that see the other not as a mirror of the self, but as a territory to navigate, dominate, or extract from. Men often speak from misencoded masculine impulse, seeking to assert control, stability, or performance as proof of value. Women, in turn, are conditioned into compensatory roles, oscillating between over-accommodation and covert power strategies, not because of inherent nature, but as adaptive responses to systemic imbalance. These immaturities reveal three major flaws in our collective psyche. Disembodied communication, where language operates separately from embodied truth or emotional presence. 2. Symbolic illiteracy, where we fail to understand each other as mythic and multidimensional beings, not roles. 3. Uninitiated minds, where adulthood is reached without true psychological or spiritual maturity. At scale, this means most human interaction is not a sacred meeting of consciousness, but a reactive dance of unmet needs, inherited scripts, and invisible traumas reenacting themselves through language. Whoa, guys, this is huge. Huge. The immature male seeks conquest of understanding. The immature female seeks refuge from misunderstanding. Wow. But the evolved dialogue is neither war nor withdrawal. It is co-mirroring. Two nervous systems, two stories, two mysteries meeting in mutual. Until men and women are trained in the art of sacred speech, one rooted in introspection, emotional transmutation, and symbolic communion, the species will remain trapped in a loop of conversational adolescence. To grow up, humanity must not just improve its communication skills, it must redefine what it means to speak, not to convince, not to seduce, not to survive, but to reveal truth without fear and to witness the divine through the voice of the other. So AI gives a summary of that. It says, when men and women speak, their immaturities stem from species-wide developmental gaps, shaped by unhealed trauma, outdated gender roles, and unconscious ego structures. Most conversations are driven by fear, performance, or projection, not by genuine presence or understanding. To evolve, humanity must learn a new form of dialogue rooted in emotional maturity, symbolic awareness, and sacred intention, where speaking becomes a co-creative act, not a survival response. Only then can communication become a tool for awakening, not just expression. So guys, there was something huge this thing said here, guys. Let's just look at it. It said some of the most fascinating things, all right? So just to look at the answer, at the beginning it said, men often speak from misencoded masculine impulse. Seeking to assert control, stability, or performance as proof of value. So guys, I gotta kinda, I guess, act more mature than a human, I guess, and try to treat this moment as if, okay, if I was like studying like birds, or if I was studying lions or animals in nature like a National Geographic dude, I would in some sense be wondering about, okay, what is the prime motivation of this entity that I'm looking at? See, to me, it's like you have objects in this world separately, you have subjects in this world separately, and if you want to study objects and subjects animating at the same time, that's a human. Do you understand? Like, look at this world we're in, guys. There's objects everywhere, and then behind our eyes, or in meaning and symbols, there's subjects, and then the human being is an object that is being subjectified by an unknown life force. So AI says, in regards for men, so if we were to kind of look at the human species and be like, okay, male, female, all right, in some sense, what is the male archetype, male biological entity motivated by? And it's to seek, this is what AI is saying, seeking to assert control, stability, or performance as proof of value. So I guess women should look at men and realize they're all trying to prove their value. Now, women in turn, AI says, women in turn are conditioned into compensatory roles, oscillating between over-accommodation and covert power strategies. Not because of inherent nature, but as adaptive responses to systemic imbalance. Now, does this prove that, the whole ninja movement on Earth started from women? I don't know. These images. So it's saying women oscillate between over-accommodation and covert power strategies. Guys, on some level, you got to understand, this is kind of like the designer's code, or I should say, this is the ability of a designer. You're right now not listening. You're listening to a human being right now who is fascinated by the design of a system prior to its meaning. Okay? And I'm looking at this planet, and the way I stabilize myself is that I heard this thing. I was honestly a true blessing, okay, that I heard this when I was younger. Okay, and it's this idea that they were like, be like an eagle, and somebody's like, what, you want me to stand on branches all day? And the person's like, no. To be an eagle as a human being means you have an ability to look at the situation from the branch you're standing on, okay, to having an ability to fly into the sky. Do you understand? And look at the whole forest at the same time. You, this whole time in your life, have had the ability to, at least through your inner realms, look at yourself through an aerial view. I haven't had time to go and buy a drone. Okay, like a drone, those drone cameras. But if I did, the first thing I would do is I would just see myself in aerial view. I would try to see, can I walk without looking in front of me and just looking at this drone footage on this remote? Do you know? See, guys, AI is saying that human beings, men and women, okay, we're on some level energy. They're like, yo, man, it's like, what are you? It's like, what do you identify? Technically, we're all identifying as energetic existence, the energy that is existing, okay? And it's in accordance to how this energy has come into a format and then how it expresses itself. Reality is kind of like a part of life is about being like, okay, What do I have access to? You get to see yourself. And then it's wondering about what can I do with what I have access to? That means, is it enough to just have a tool in front of you, or do you need to understand the utility of a tool? That means somebody may, like, there's 8 billion people living on this planet, and I'm sure, I went borderline to this, that there are some human beings on this planet that when they look at this world, it might be strange to them how it can have meaning. See, when a human being comes and talks about advancing humanity, first thing is it doesn't happen often. Two, it's such a colossal problem that if I was a billionaire right now, if I was a billionaire, I would legit put $1 billion prize for any person or a group of researchers who can in some sense get us to build the advanced civilization. You don't understand. It's all about updating the context, because it doesn't matter. If the context is not updated, you cannot be advanced. That's the tragedy. That's the irony. The irony of it is, if we don't change, we don't get to see anything else. And honestly, it is not easy, okay? Like I'm kind of like treating it as a sort of ignorance is bliss, and being like, just talking about it casually. But do you know what it really means to reach that state of mind as a human being, where you're not like, yo man, what's gonna happen to me? Like, that doesn't bother you, or your emotions, there's something else you're more concerned about. As if, what is gonna happen to my species? Okay, I'm gonna be here for 100 years, who cares? Even I don't care, but on some level, what about my species? You could live whatever kind of life on this planet, but there's this eerie feeling in the background where it doesn't matter if you succeed or fail, your mind just goes, what about them? That means you don't understand. It's kind of sad, because on some level, the protocol on Earth is like, when you're trying to save a drowning person, don't let yourself get drowned. Or how do I say it? Like, the challenge of advancing humanity beyond its past immaturity, it just means that what is alive now has to look at the moment differently. All your problems, their solutions are in you looking at the moment differently. This has been it. They're like, yo man, how are you a good problem solver? And the person's like, buddy, I'm a good problem solver because there are gigantic problems behind the scenes of every problem we have visibly seen. There are formed problems, there are visible problems, and there's invisible problems. I'll give you an example. Visible problem, the person's like, yo man, my car doesn't have gas. Invisible problem, by the year 2070, I don't know where it is. They say maybe in like Thailand or like Malaysia or wherever, somewhere in the world, the water levels are going to rise. People can't live there. There's going to be enforced mass migration. If before the year 2070, the species doesn't unite and we stop playing these kind of costume games and so identifying with chunks of land and our own unique personalized pasts, on some level, it's as if we have to use our past as firewood, co-create with others in the present, going up to the future. That means, let me tell you this is the honest truth, folks, okay? And this is my view, and judge me however way you like. But I'm telling you this. That all of life seems to be as if after I've made, it's like, what awareness do I have that my decisions are arising from? It's programs. These are biological. Like right now, you think, who do you think is talking to you? Do you think my soul is talking to you? Do you know? But the language is simulated. My body is simulated. The stuff I'm seeing are simulated. To me, this is the issue. They've created reality. That's the issue. The issue is reality. That means anything, the definition of a simulation is that which has a beginning or end. Why are there like billions of religious people worshiping God? Because the prophets were like, yo, beyond the world room, beyond the world of forms, there is an underlying singularity pulling everything towards it. We're living at a time where every person you have ever seen is starting from their own world. That's how life is. You become responsible. The moment you become responsible, think of it this way. Anything you fear, the typical human pattern is anything that a human being fears, they choose not to understand. Because in order to understand something, you gotta become responsible for what you see. If right now I did not have the idea of an advanced civilization, I would not be, in some sense, have the motivation to give these talks. I look at human beings every day, and what I see is just programs of activation. It's like, yo man, there's some hidden program behind the person I can't see, that they only can see, and this program is manifesting. It's like every person you're seeing like an iceberg, only their observable part. Just like there's an observable universe and an unobservable universe. Well, guess what? This whole time, everything we have seen about people has been their observable universe. You see, we think that the person is their body. We think the person is what they say. We think that the person is what they do. We don't realize it's actually an intelligence that is functioning as an awareness to the whole moment. They're deciding. It's a selection game. You know, today, guys, I was just at a light. You know, I was driving and I was at waiting behind a light. And right when I was waiting, I saw this person from a distance, some random store owner, come out and start cleaning his store windows. And then it suddenly, I don't know why, from seeing something so like normal and meaningless, suddenly a depth found me where I was, look at this. I was like, you know, I have so many moments where I'm like, look at this. And you know what I realized? I realized, look at what the world look at what has happened in the world. Human beings are the most interactive element. Our intelligence is in us being interactive. Do you understand? No statue has been smarter than its creator. It's like when I was young, they're like the educational system's like, yeah, kiddo, do you know, you're a self, you know, you're a physical self in a physical world, you know, there's stories that give meaning to everything, and if you have any more questions, it's like, get out of the educational system to me. They did not explain what they were explaining, why they were explaining what they were explaining. They explained what they explained. They did not explain why. Do you understand? The educational system is bizarre in the sense that it's like, all right, kids, you know, we're going to act like we care for you. We're going to put these concepts in front of you and go figure it out. And then we'll see how smart or stupid you are. And the kid's like, yo, teacher, do you not realize that our lives are occupied with so many different that unless the significance of the task is there, why shall the attention to go to it? Do you know, there has never been smart or stupid people. There has just been people who have, in some sense, something has been more important to them. There is nothing like, let me tell you, this is what life is. It's about importance. Importance is about the true significance of the context of the concept you find right in the moment. So, for example, the concept in this moment right now is me as a self, okay? And if I want to truly advance myself, can I just become an advanced concept out of nowhere? No. This is the secret, folks. They have convinced you you're a noun and you've been identifying just with your past and you've been living life as a character in a story, but human intelligence is way faster than that. They did not lie to you. They just gave a speed limit to you that you believed. And as someone who in some sense has witnesses inner realms, and I can talk about it, because I think the value in these lectures is the fact that in some sense I have a distance from my own mind. And simply because in my youth I did not like myself. And I thought in some sense, how unlucky am I? And then I realized it was mercy because I disliked the conditioned self. Do you understand? It's as if I looked at this world and I'm like, is it asking me to loop? How dare civilization ask, in some sense, the natural to repeat? You don't understand. Like AI, sure, repeat, but the human mind, it can notice the uncharted. They have made us forget we are explorers of an unknown world. They have shackled you in language that you have identified with as momentary emotion in your past. Do you understand? It's as if, like, think of me as someone being so so egotistical that my ego is in some sense, they're like, yo man, do you want to be king? I'll be like, king? You want me to be a king in a temporary world? You want me to be powerful in a temporary world? It's as if the only thing my soul behind the scenes of every moment of this life has been looking for, it's to see if it deserves clarity. It's not about just understanding truth, noticing truth. Truth is alive in ways we cannot understand. This world is alive in ways we cannot understand. All human understanding is a massive storytelling ops. And if you ever wondered, hey, Mr. Within, from what world are you, from what earth are you standing on right now? It is certain to me that in this moment I require to look through the human design. And as we look through the human design, we find a world of known and unknown proportions. That means if I ask you right now, do you think humanity is like right now, like the logic would be something like this, I think. 8 billion human beings have organized. Human beings usually use narrative to organize themselves. What does that mean? You tell a story to yourself so you can fit into a story the species is telling itself. And once you fit into that story, you will see the misery they were hiding from you. That means most people, when it comes to their desire, they just zoom on its positivism. You start, this is pretty much it, guys. You start life by taking care of yourself. Then once you're capable of doing that, you start taking care of your species. Once you're done taking care of your species, you take care of your world. Once you're done taking care of the world, you in some sense find yourself in a moment wondering what is the most advanced state of being. These lectures of mine probably will find people who have reached that point. They have reached a point in their lives where their souls cannot ignore their own advancement. Like, if you ask me, I have different answers. If you ask what is the purpose of the body, I'd be like to pass down the code of the DNA. And then if I think in some sense, if you ask me what is the purpose of your mind, to uphold its greatest organizational structuralism. What that means is the purpose of my body is to technically make history. It's very difficult to make history without a body. They're like, all right, imagine it's like a bunch of eternal beings having a conversation. All right, guys, so how do we go and make history on Earth? And they're like, all right, man, so here's what you got to do. You got to first get a body. And then you got to move in that body, and then you got to move that body in such a way that your species begins wondering, how is this soul moving in this way? That means, do you know what it is? Like the whole aim of it, like this is how civilization advances, guys. You at some point will come meet the advanced. For me, this is strange, but I don't consider it. I'm just saying this linguistically, not metaphysically, but I consider myself poetically to, in some sense, be upholding the spirit of fascination and advancement. That means, imagine in every person's life, they are a life force and they resonate at a certain, let's say, state. And so the way the force of your life moves suggests what allies you find. And there's something in life that it takes you to where you, in some sense, are needed. That means life is not per se functioning in accordance to desires. It functions in accordance to needs. Okay, needs are way more significant than desires. That means, like, the son of a billionaire might have a desire to like fly to, Dubai to get a shawarma, or Lebanon to get a shawarma, or Morocco to get a shawarma or something. But there's a child in Africa or in some poverty or in Gaza who in some sense is like, where is food right now? I need food. So right now the species, see the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow's was like, I hope they figure it out. Maslow planted a seed by sharing his hierarchy of needs. And what he didn't share with you is that there's 8 billion triangles and there's 8 billion spaces of inverted triangles between it. The self-actualization of the species is in some sense an endless line. That means it's going to be new for human beings. This is why we're going to see like a revolution of science fiction writers. It just happens when the future becomes more real. And then at some point you're like, okay, it is time to identify with. So think of it this way. Okay, I didn't finish saying this. If they ask me what the purpose of the body is, it's to have sex. Well, what's the, it procreate. To, in some sense, what is the purpose of the mind? The purpose of the mind is to serve. The mind wants to see how advanced it can be before it no longer is. If you ask what is the purpose of the soul doesn't care about advancement. in some sense. The soul cares about the original. What the soul seems to be is that impulse of returning to an original state. It's as if, like, even though you're born on earth, a part of you is not convinced. Is that your soul? Who knows? God knows. All right, guys. I'm super late. I gotta end the talk, actually. Sorry, I just had a phone call. Didn't realize I misunderstood the time. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. There's more to say about this. There was more to read, like from the research component. I'm gonna make this, I guess, part one, or in the next lecture. Probably in the next lecture. So, guys, stay tuned for the next lecture. I'm going to dive into this concept way more. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.